Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Saturday's edition of the DCEU Daily. I'm one very ecstatic, excited DC fan, and here's why. Because Keanu Reeves, Constantine, is getting a sequel. This is something that Keanu has been fighting for many, many years. That makes me happy. This makes me even happier. So J.J. Abrams' Black Constantine is no longer in development on HBO Max. Now, they're lying and saying they're looking for a new home for it, but that's not a thing. Why would it be? How can you have a Keanu Reeves Constantine sequel and then have a J.J. Abrams Constantine of color? A little bit confusing, right? It's not going to happen. Now, I reported to you many, many times via reading out reports from other publications that Zaslav doesn't like J.J. Abrams. He doesn't want J.J. Abrams at Warner Brothers Discovery, and here's why. Because he doesn't like the non-exclusive deal that Toby Emmerich made for him. You know, Emmerich paid him all this money for non-exclusivity. That means that he's not committed to Warner Brothers totally. He can go off and do other stuff, which means that he takes too long making the WB stuff. And also, of course, David Zaslav doesn't want a progressive Constantine. Nobody does. Nobody wants a progressive Superman of colour, unless it's President Superman or Val Zod, but not Clark Kent. So these are the decisions that David Zaslav is making. These are the brilliant, excellent decisions that David Zaslav is making. Now, after we get into this, because we're going to get the details of this very, very double-pronged news, there's also a negative article from The Hollywood Reporter. It doesn't come with any genuine information or honesty, but they're trying to say that Comcast, aka NBC Universal, could buy up and swallow up Warner Brothers Discovery in 2024. We will discuss that as well. I'm calling it bullshit. This is all to do with these people still being triggered that Zaslav shelved Batgirl. And that is what it's all about, my friend. So let's go. Constantine sequel in the works with Keanu Reeves. It just gives me a boner. It gives me a geek boner. I don't care what you think. It gets me excited. This is awesome. The HBO Max series from J.J. Abrams, based on the character, is no longer moving forward at the stream. Oh my God, I just got a bigger boner now. This is so good. And I told you when all these publications were lying that, you know, Abrams Constantine was still happening just a few weeks and months ago. I said to you, no way, Jose. By Aaron Crouch of The Hollywood Reporter. After reviving The Matrix last year, which was crap, so that didn't work out well, and let's hope Constantine's a little bit better than that. I think it will be. Warner Brothers is bringing back yet another Keanu Reeves property. The studio is developing a sequel to 2005's Constantine, the film based on the supernatural DC property. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed the project is to reunite Reeves with director Francis Lawrence. Now, let me give you a bit of a wink here. I don't think Lawrence will direct this film ultimately. That's what they're saying now. I believe it's Chad, and I can't say his surname. I tried. Chad Zelensky, I think his name is. Is that his name? Anyway, I just probably got both his first name and last name wrong. But anyway, Chad Zelensky, who directs the other stuff that Keanu Reeves has done, of course, the John Wick franchise, that's what I'm talking about, you know, is going to be tapped to direct this movie. I can assure you of that. That's not official yet, but that's how I see this happening. If this is the case, this is hugely exciting. Who helmed the original? This time around, veteran scribe Akiva Goldsman will write the script. Now, I'm not a big fan of Goldsman, but there you go. Goldsman will also produce via Weed Road Pictures, with J.J. Abrams producing via Bad Robot. Now, this is interesting. is this actually going to happen? Because Zaslav isn't happy with Abrams. How can Abrams have anything to do with this? So this is interesting. Let's see if this is the case. But this is what I've been told about this. J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot may be producing this, but this is part of the deal. So basically, Abrams is a very good businessman. And he's very clever, and he's done really well with Bad Robot through the years. Because what he did is he used his genius via Lost, Alias and Fringe to get a reputation for the production company. But the only reason that this is happening is because they needed a way to say, look, JJ, we don't want you to fight this. Your Constantine's not happening. So he goes, okay, let my company Bad Robot produce this movie and we'll say no more about it. This is the kind of negotiations that happen in Hollywood. So if that's the case, I'm quite happy for Bad Robot to be producing this. Via Bad Robot with Hannah Minghella, Deadline first reported the news. Abrams has been developing a Constantine series for HBO Max, however, it will not be moving forward there. It's possible it could find life elsewhere. It isn't gonna happen. It's not possible, and you know it. Every J.J. Abrams DC project is dead, and there's another project that will be dead very soon, and that's Black Canary, directed by Misha Green, or at least written by Misha Green. That's not going to happen. If I was a betting man, I'd say you'll never hear that movie mentioned again, but they won't officially announce it's done. Very dangerous situation there, because he's already shelved, this Latinx lead as Batgirl. So if this was to be officially announced as well, that would be problematic. The same is true of Madam X, another Abrams-produced DC project that will no longer have a home on HBO Max. Under the newly merged company Warner Bros. Discovery, there has been a shift in strategy with an emphasis on theatrical projects for DC characters. There has also been cost-cutting with the pricey Abrams-produced Demonde. Now, that wasn't cut because it was just pricey, yes. Zaslav doesn't believe in over-investment on HBO Max in terms of movies and expensive television shows, because he knows that streaming doesn't bring the money for Warner Brothers that they need to bring in. Theatrical is the future. Of course, they'll have a streaming service. Of course, HBO Max and Discovery Plus are going to merge and it'll be a super streamer. And that's great. But streaming isn't going to be the priority moving forward anywhere. It's Disney Plus that are going to learn this lesson the hard way. Earlier in the summer, the news comes as Abrams and collaborators have been shopping around the animated Batman Caped Crusader, a series developed for HBO Max that is no longer heading to the service. Constantine earned $230 million globally, and the character has been kept alive in the public consciousness after Reeves' iteration of the anti-hero, who in DC lore is an occult detective. The Matt Ryan played John Constantine in an NBC series, and later on the CW's Legend of Tomorrow. Yeah, so I don't know why. Oh yeah, the Matt Ryan? Learn to write. So Matt Ryan has been the best live-action Constantine. There's no question about that. And even though I love Keanu, my preference would be for Matt to be this brand new DC 10-year plan Constantine. It would be for me. He's amazing. He's a better Constantine than Keanu Reeves. That's just my opinion. I'm quite happy for both of them to have a role, but I'm happy with what we're going here, and who knows what will happen on TV with Matt Ryan. I hope he's got a future too. He is a sensational Constantine. In the years since the first Constantine film, Reeves' star power has only risen, with the actor juggling multiple franchises including John Wick. The fourth installment bells in March. Lawrence, meanwhile, has a packed schedule. He's currently filming the Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and he's also attached to direct the Netflix video game adaptation, BioShock. So, what do I make of all this? So, let's go back to the guy's name who originally directed this movie. So, So we're talking about Lawrence. So I forgot his first name, but his surname is Lawrence. So Lawrence directed the original movie. Now, I don't think he's going to direct this one. I think Chad Zelensky is going to direct this. I think the John Wick director is going to do this because he's one of the best action directors out there. And this makes perfect sense. So for all the haters hating on Zaslav, calling him a clown, this is what he's doing. Now, it's pretty clear that David Zaslav isn't a progressive, and I'm happy. I want to drive out every single progressive in entertainment. Entertainment isn't for you. Focusing on identity politics and just basically saying, right, we're not casting white people and we're just going to cast minorities, even if those minorities are not the best people for the job. At least if you're going to cast minorities and people of colour, at least get the best people for the job. There's some excellent African-American actors out there. There's some brilliant female directors and women, but they don't. They just choose the ones with entertainment DNA. That's the fucking problem. You've seen the Power of Women podcasts and nonsense like this. We need to get progressives out of this industry. And what makes me happy about David Zaslav, that's exactly what he's doing here on Warner Brothers. You know, the extremist Batgirl movie, not happening. Cheap and cheerful, shit, not happening. A Constantine of colour is not happening, dead. We're getting Keanu's OG Constantine. So this is very exciting. Could this Constantine movie be the beginning of a DC Vertigo franchise, a separate one from their 10-year plan? Could this be the first movie of their 10-year plan? Could the 7-movie Green Lantern arc they're planning be the introduction of the 10-year plan? I don't know. But we heard rumours the other day of a Green Lantern 7-movie plan. And we've also now officially, because the Green Lantern thing's a rumour, but this is official. Keanu Reeves is returning as Constantine. And I couldn't be happier. This is excellent news. Waking up to this news has just made my fucking morning, my day, my year. It's been such another negative year for DC. And in a moment, I'm going to read a very negative article from the Hollywood Reporter. They talk about nobody wanting the DC Studios job. I'm calling bullshit. And that NBC and Comcast want to swallow Warner Brothers whole. Before I read this article out, let me be absolutely clear. Warner Brothers being swallowed up and vanishing in a huge deal would be murder. Warner Brothers is one of the most famous companies in, English-speaking Western entertainment history. They have got so many beautiful productions and television shows under their banner and name. They distributed the first movie I ever saw, Superman the movie. Warner Brothers and their history means a hell of a lot to me. And if this ever happens, I would riot. But I don't believe it will. Let's get the details and then let's talk about it. Warner Brothers Discovery has bigger problems than its DC search. The film studio's hunt for its own Kevin Feige, right? They are not looking for their own Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige hasn't copied and patented this position. And a Kevin Feige clone, as they put it, isn't what Zaslav is looking for. But anyway, let them continue. This is a very triggering article full of BS, and I'm going to expose every line of it. So basically they're saying the film studio's hunt for its own Kevin Feige may be complicated by key questions about what's next for the heavily indebted company and whether another major deal is on the horizon. No one is going to say, I don't want to be the president of DC Studios because of the financial problems that Zaslav is actually dealing with. No one's going to say, I don't want to run DC, because even if you get to run DC for 5 fucking minutes, then WB go bankrupt, you've still done it. But molding the clay for a future DC universe, this 10-year plan, is a huge opportunity for anyone. I would fucking do it. You would do it. Many DC fans would do it. Many people would do it within the industry. By Kim Masters of The Hollywood Reporter. Most of these people don't really understand business or entertainment, and you can tell by this article. Anyway, In early August, 2 days after David Zaslav terminated his brief honeymoon with Hollywood by dumping the HBO Max film Batgirl. So this is what it's really about, the dumping and shelving of Batgirl. This is triggered journalists and progressives everywhere. These are not Batgirl fans. They don't give a shit about Leslie Grace, Brendan Fraser, Michael Keaton. It's because she's a Hispanic female lead for a female character on a superhero project. That's all they hear. That's all they see. That's all they ever say. How dare you shelve a female-led Hispanic movie? The Warner Brothers Discovery CEO was still sounding confident about the future of one of the studio's most important properties. You look at Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. These are brands that are known everywhere in the world. Zaslav told investors, "We have done a reset. We've restructured the business where we are going to focus where there is going to be a team with a 10-year plan focusing just on DC." That's a really good idea because we haven't had a team focusing on DC before. You know, before we had Abrams. No, sorry, let's start again. Not Abrams, J.J. Abrams. I'm still celebrating that he's been dumped off of Constantine. But, you know, we've had Jeff Johns, John Berg, Walter Hamada, Zack Snyder. You need a team of people who get DC. And this is Zaslav. This is what Zaslav is attempting to do. Not even Marvel Studios do this. There's not a team at Marvel Studios. It's Kevin Feige. He says something, it happens, it goes. This is something different and exciting, by the way. But the declaration of the DC reset was premature. No, it wasn't. Zaslav is continuing to meet with prospective candidates to lead the effort. But surprising to no one, he has not found a Kevin Feige clone because that's not what he's looking for, Kim. Anyway, you carry on with your triggered response to Batgirl being shelved. A negotiation with producer Dan Lin became public, possibly due to a meeting that was held outdoors in plain sight because of WBD consultant Alan Horn's COVID-19 concerns. Right. They're right about the concerns of Alan Horn and of COVID. That's why he does his meetings outside. He met with Dan Lin as a prospective applicant. There were no negotiations. He wasn't even in the final 3 picks, which they're deciding on right now. I've already mentioned this to you on a previous video. Dan Lin wasn't a shoo-in for this job. There was no issues with his company or none of this, but this is what they're saying. But then apparently fell apart over complications involving Lin's production non-profit company Riderback. That's not why it's not happening. He just wasn't the best person for the job. Alan Horn decided he wasn't the one for this position. But these people will take this and run. Meanwhile, DC Films president Walter Hamada called his lawyer after watching Batgirl get binned and listening to Zaslav talk about the bright future under superior but unnamed leadership. He called his lawyer. What was he going to do? Sue him? No, he was going to ask to leave like a fucking baby. Sorry, Walter. You had your chance and you blew it! Film studio co-chairman Michael DeLuca talked him into staying until Black Adam is released in October. But his exit is being negotiated, which is very, very good news. At this point, it's hard to think of any strong candidate to run a DC silo. Now listen, I know the 3 names they're looking at. They're very good names. But if you're asking me, do I have a list of 30 people who could do this job? No, I'm not in fucking Hollywood. I don't know who works at DC as well, who could do this job as well. But people are clamoring for this job. Don't listen to these idiots. And there are several reasons to wonder why anyone with a decent career would want the job. Anyone with a decent career would want the job. I'll tell you why. It's DC. It's the opportunity to mould the DC live action clay. Kim, you are triggered by the shelving of Batgirl. Just admit it. You progressives just can't fucking handle facts. This is entertainment. This is not politics. It's as simple as that. Go back and crawl under the rock. You were there before. Write about things you understand. You don't even understand about politics anyway, you people, especially progressives, but it's done. Batgirl's done. Zaslav is the big honcho here. Now, Zaslav has made enough moves to reveal that despite the extensive goodwill tour, he's exactly the tough boss that former Discovery insiders described when the Warner Media Discovery combination first made the news. Now, this is what we need. This is what Warner Brothers haven't had for years, since Alan Horn himself was running the company. A tough guy who's not going to take any shit, that's not scared of progressives and the extremists, that makes the right decisions for DC as a whole and Warner Brothers as a whole. And with CFO Gunnar Wildenfeld working to slash the staggering $50 billion plus in debt, the company has content creators wondering publicly what happened to material that disappeared from the streamer without a word of warning, while insiders send out resumes as layoffs roll. There are layoffs. Regrettably, there are layoffs. It's sad. I'm sorry. I'm going to say sorry individually to every single one of you. I wish you weren't losing your job, but you should blame AT&T and the calamitous running of Warner Brothers. What did they call it? Warner Media. That's it. They used to call it Warner Media. The running of Warner Media. They thought they could launch HBO Max with Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. Originally, they had a great idea of putting it out in episodes. That would have kept people on the streamer. Then for some reason, they released it as a 4-hour movie, but they had no plan. No plan. This is why they went to Zaslav, because they got themselves in a lot of trouble. Listen to this crap though. Zaslav doesn't know what he doesn't know, says one leading talent rep. It's funny how they find these reps. That's scary. What's scary? What doesn't he know? What doesn't he know? And you're always going to be compared to Marvel. It's unfair by the time we're being judged. It was working. It's the exact opposite at Warner. It's a rough all around. Who the fuck would want that job? Anyone! Anyone would want that fucking job. What are you talking about, you biased piece of shit? Anyway, the Marvel comparison looms large. While Feige has had the advantage of being what one industry source calls both the architect and the contractor of the Marvel Universe, the DC property has been through multiple iterations. Its fans are passionate. Oh no! Is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing? Says one talent rep. J.J. Abrams has this one. Zack Snyder had that one. Todd Phillips had the other thing. And they're all such huge egos. Right, let's have a look at this, right? Zack Snyder made some of the best DC movies ever made. Todd Phillips made one of the best DC movie ever made. Have some of that. So I know what you're saying. There's no definitive leader. And I get that. And Zaslav is trying to remedy that. All these issues pale next to the biggest question, hovering over any top job at Warner Brothers Discovery. How long will this gig last? The company is grappling with that heavy debt load and skeptical investors. One former Zaslav exec recently received a letter from a due diligence firm on behalf of an unspecified client, asking for his evaluation of Zaslav's leadership style, strategic plans, and likelihood of success. That could suggest various possibilities: a potential acquirer digging around, a dissident shareholder sniffing for weakness, a hedge fund trying to place a bet. So much uncertainty. So basically, just because one element was asking what Zaslav's leadership style is, they plucked out of their backsides that Warner Brothers could be sold to NBC Universal, aka Comcast. It's fucking hilarious. This is how triggered these people are by the shelving of Batgirl. Given the company's daunting challenge, it has become accepted wisdom at the highest levels of the industry that another deal waits in the wings for Warner Brothers Discovery. For reasons related to the complicated structure of that merger, no negotiations can happen until April 2024. But at that point, many industry observers believe that Comcast Brian Roberts will make a long-awaited move, looking to combine NBC Universal and Warner Brothers Discovery. Basically, the government would not let that happen. It's a near impossibility. But let me ask you this question. NBC Universal Comcast, if they wanted to buy this company, why didn't they get there? Why didn't they stop the Discovery deal and do it then? Warner Brothers is fucking worthless. It would have cost them nothing to acquire this company. But you're telling me Comcast, intelligent business people, are going to wait till Zaslav turns his company in April of 2024, then pay quadruple the amount in dollars for this company? Absolutely not. They've plucked this out of their backside. And as I said earlier, Warner Brothers being swallowed up isn't an option for any fucking movie fan. And I would go ballistic if this ever happened. I don't see this happening. It's basically a Friday article because they don't know what to talk about, and we know that there's loads of redundancies at Warner Brothers Discovery, that they're in debt, and Zaslav is making the right moves to turn this around. He'll turn it around. There's nothing to see here. That deal would face some interesting antitrust issues that will give his company scale and a viable streaming service. Obviously, Peacock sucks. Yes, it does, says one exec with the knowledge of both companies. There are some good synergies. I'm sure Roberts is licking his chops because the Warner Brothers Discovery stock is so low. Yeah, exactly. But the Warner Media Discovery stock was just as fucking low. So why didn't he try and buy it before Discovery got in there? And you're saying he can't buy this stock up till April 2024 when he doesn't know if it's going to be the same price. So you're talking absolute shit. And I think that Zaslav's endgame get that place sold. Roberts and NBC CEO Jeff Shell met with Zaslav and board member John Malone during the Allen and Co gathering in Sun Valley last July, but giving the rules against plotting any combination that was no doubt just a friendly get-together. Well, you never know. I'm not saying that Zaslav may not sell this company to them. That may be his fucking plan. Once he's turned the studio around, maybe that's an option for him. But I don't think so. Look, you don't want to be the person who allows Warner Brothers to be swallowed by a huge conglomerate. Now, they make a lot of money for themselves, but listen, this would be outrageous. And NBC, Universal, we know, are progressives. We don't want them having DC in their armory. We must fight against this vocally on the internet. A Warner Brothers Discovery spokesperson responds, "We're building Warner Brothers Discovery for the long term. Many top industry execs are so convinced a deal will happen that some are pre-mourning an event that may never happen. People feel like it's Comcast for sure," says the head of one company. "It's going to be so depressing to lose another major studio." It would be. It can't be allowed to happen. After Disney bought Fox and Warner's was the Tiffany studio. And of course, an obituary is premature. Maybe Warner's will do a deal with Comcast, maybe not. They won't. Meanwhile, Zaslav continues his quest to find a DC superhero, but it seems possible that eventually DeLuca and Pam Admi, now acting heads of the division, will end up running the thing by default. Now that's interesting because I think that Mike DeLuca has a lot of experience and he actually is a big DC fan. So maybe Pam can run Warner Brothers Pictures on her own, and maybe Mike can run DC Studios. I wouldn't be opposed to that because he has knowledge. But there's going to be a plan and there's going to be a team. So I'm not opposed to that. But he is looking for someone. He has 3 people. He's whittled it down to 3 people. We will get an announcement sooner rather than later. I'd say by December of this year, we will get an announcement. Luca was a comic book collector. Let's say that again. DeLuca was a comic book collector, as I just said. He loves DC. As a kid and years ago at New Line, he made Blade and even had an Iron Man movie in development. A source says Bob Shea, the New Line chief at the time, let the option lapse, arguing that it didn't make sense because Iron Man was too heavy to fly. Mike was championing and scratching at the surface of this comic book universe long before it became the only thing that anybody is interested in seeing. Well, is that still the case? I don't think so. Otherwise, Top Gun Maverick wouldn't be the most successful film of this year, says one longtime associate. They always talk to these unnamed people. It just makes me laugh. Given the importance of DC, it appears the top filmmakers operating in that world, Matt Reeves, Phillips and Andy Muschietti, will be shielded from that sharp Wiedenfeld's knife. Now, this is interesting that they put Andy Muschietti within this situation because, yes, he's got the Flash movie and the Flash movie is going to happen. And as I said, the man has directed a visually beautiful picture. He's done a good job. He had a hard job to do. And I've said this, I've seen the test screening for the movie. I know. Whether or not he gets any more DC work, I don't know. He's a Walter Hamada person. Let's see. So one agent with business at studio says DeLuca and Adby are talent-friendly, decisive, and a vast improvement from when the studio sat under AT&T and Jason Kilar, and one person they don't mention, Toby Emmerich, who was the real problem. From where I sit, he says, it is night and fucking day from before, which is beautiful. This is what we want. Adby and DeLuca are the right people. Zaslav chose them. That means he's doing the right fucking things. So, that's the article. What do I think? I think that Comcast are not getting Warner Brothers Discovery. I think that many, many people want this DC Studios leadership job. It's a great opportunity. I know that Zaslav knows exactly what he's doing. He is the right guy to be running Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm very excited for the future, especially with DC. And when you hear announcements like Keanu Reeves returning as Constantine in a sequel, you know the man knows what he's doing. When you're hearing about him being very interested in Walter Hamada's 7-movie Green Lantern arc that will lead to Blackest Night, you know the man knows what he's doing because he's saying, right, I don't want Walter here anymore, but this 7-movie Green Lantern arc is exactly what we want. That's the plan that we want. This is good. So, yes, Walter, I'm removing you, but this was a good idea. Let's do it. I'm very excited for DC Live Action's future. And finally today, I was shocked as anyone when I found out that Zack Snyder would have his own episodes of the brilliant animated series, the brilliant DC animated series, Teen Titans Go. So it premiered on the Cartoon Network in America. Now I have access, I subscribe to the Cartoon Network. I don't know if it's available to me yet. I will have a look later on. So yes, we got it yesterday and apparently it was fucking awesome. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I'm very, very excited about this. So what does this mean? Because can you imagine a Warner Brothers run by Toby Emmerich commissioning Zack Snyder to actually be in Teen Titans Go? This is Zack's episode, and some of the stuff I've heard about it is fucking hilarious and pays homage and respect to the director's work on DC film. What does this tell me? Despite the negativity coming from Jay Oliver, and I don't know why that negativity is coming, is it because Zack's told him to say this? I don't know. Anyway, I think it's very good for Snyderverse fans that Zack's in this. This means something. And the fans understand more than some people do. Despite Jay Oliver talking about the toxic minority making us look all toxic, this is not true. Because once this aired yesterday at 2 p.m. PDT, as Zack actually proudly told people to go and watch it, we had a Restore the Snyderverse trend. And it trended high along with the actual episode. Because we've got clever fucking people running this movement strategically. And it worked and it's great. I think we have a little chance of restoring the Snyderverse. Because why would Zack Snyder be involved with Warner Brothers after telling them they sucked and then being involved with one of their DC animations? It doesn't make sense. But this is interesting as well, if you want to think of something else. Now, James Gunn has been in an episode, or will be in an episode, of the Harley Quinn animated series. Look at his profile picture. It's from the artwork of him in the series. And now Zack Snyder is in an episode of Teen Titans Go. James Gunn is running the Suicide Squad franchise at DC for now, unless Zaslav axes him. We'll have to wait and see. It doesn't look like that's the case according to James, but we'll see. So isn't it interesting that that person who's still developing DC content is on a DC animated series, and Zack Snyder, who was working on DC live action, also gets a whole episode dedicated to him in Teen Titans Go, an animated series, a popular one. What does this mean? I think we could maybe getting the Snyderverse restored, because I believe if we weren't going to get this. Why did they do this? And they're paying homage to the guy. The guy's DC movies. Why are they doing that? This is David Zaslav saying, we respect this guy, we have faith in this guy, and something may happen. Now, I think that Jay Oliver telling us to get our acts together, there's a reason for it. It's code. He's saying they're in talks, but we can't have this toxicity because it could hurt any chance of Zack restoring the Snyderverse. And if they're the motivations behind what Jay's been saying, I agree with him. Watch your conduct, be as positive as you were yesterday with this trending event. I'm here for Zack, but mostly I'm here for DC content in general. I love DC, but I admit Zack is a brilliant director. I would love to see his JL2 and 3. I'd love to see Ben Affleck's The Batman movie. I want to see the director's cut or the air cut of Suicide Squad. I want all these things as much as you do, but I also want DC to thrive under David Zaslav and this 10-year plan and this new DC Studios and the leader of this new DC Studios, whoever that may be. So I think this is great. I think this is exciting, so don't lose hope. This has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until we see each other again, I know I miss you as much as you miss me. But until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.